So hello. Today I'd like to take a look at this, which is another one of the car manuals that I have, instruction books in my collection. This one's, I think, the oldest one I have. It's the standard 12 and 14, which is a car. Well, in this case it's from 1947. And they were made by the Standard Motor Company in Warwickshire, in Coventry and Warwickshire. So there you go. You just look at this. And this, the car, I have to be very careful with this old book. The car looked like that. And then these days I think they still had the crank handle. Although they may well have had an electronic ignition, you could still start them with the old crank bar, you know. You had to, when you held the bar, you had to put your thumb over the top, not hold the bar like that. You had to put your thumb over the top of the bar, because sometimes the engine used to kick back and you could break your thumb off, literally. Yeah. Top tip for people using crank handles. So there you go, there's all the license data and stuff. The road speed data and sort of things like that. Yeah, yes, it's all good, baby. You can see road speed in miles per hour. So you were talking about sort of like a 60, 65 mile per hour top limit, you know. Not bad, I suppose, for 1947, bearing in mind. I don't even think these cars had heaters. They were quite basic. There's your control section. And then headlamp dipping switch. So there you go, there you go. Engine starting, I was just trying to whiz through. It talks about things you wouldn't worry about today, because obviously in today's modern mechanics you don't need to worry about them. But in those days you had to make sure the oil was flowing through the engine before you really gave it revs, because you could do damage to the engine. Under bonnet view, very basic looking engine. Mentioning grease guns, you know, for grease nipples, that they used to have these cars in those days, where you'd have to pack the element, you know, wherever it was, suspension or trailing arm or something, with grease. There was a special grease gun that you had for that you'd fill with grease, like a large pump, and then you'd screw the metal twist onto the nipple and then start pumping the grease in until it came out of until it spilled out of the side of the grease nipple, and then you knew the thing was full. Oh yeah, look at that. So that's the chassis without the shell. The shell would be the bodywork that would have dropped down over the top and then bolted onto the chassis. And there's a grease nipple, as I was saying, talking about. For rear hub lubrication, so you're greasing the hub, you know, to the actual bearing. Some lovely shape, this book, actually, bearing in mind its age. That's the prop shaft. Again, you've got nipples there for you know, for the bearings that you have to grease this all up. Quite a lot of work, in actual fact. The ownership of one of these vehicles was quite intense if you were doing it all yourself. Yeah, nice one. That looks like some sort of suspension. Yeah, I think the old sort of carriage type suspension. Leaf spring, I think they call it leaf spring suspension. Yeah, awesome. Correct tyre pressures and signs that they're wrong, you know. Yeah, again, you're removing tyres with a couple of screwdrivers. Well, that's interesting. So you wouldn't be able to do that nowadays, would you? With the tyres we've got on modern roads. It's like you just need one of those pneumatic hydraulic machines. And there's the jack. There's the bodywork. door adjustments. Obviously, in the old days, hinges were quite primitive, so you'd have to adjust the doors every now and then so that you could clank them shut. Otherwise, it would probably just not be shut. In fact, I remember a friend of mine had a very old Austin A35, and you couldn't shut the door. He had an elasticated, like you'd tie something onto the back of a bicycle with, and that kind of held the door shut, sort of shut, whilst he was driving along. So there's quite a comprehensive toolkit there, which is nice of them to give you. And there's it obviously had a soft top, which again is rather nice for those sunny days in the UK. We get lots of sunshine in the UK. No, we do. I know it rains a lot, but there are days of sunshine. But nah, it's all good. I'm not in the UK, by the way, at the moment. I'm in Poland, but I am planning on getting back there someday, as soon as I possibly can, in actual fact. Plug cleaning and testing machine. See, that's quite an interesting item, isn't it? There you go. That's the cross section of the axle. And that's obviously a cross section of the engine. Awesome. So I best speed up a bit because this is rolling on. It's a carburetor. It's all very useful though. If you want to do your own mechanics, they really do offer you quite a substantial, quite a comprehensive manual. And I can see, to be honest, through the lack of greasy fingerprints on this, that whoever owned this car either probably A, had a trouble-free life with it, or B, had it serviced at the local dealership, you know, or mechanic, because they just thought, well, I think that if you were buying a car of this quality, you probably had quite a lot of money in those days. And standard cars, I think they eventually became Triumph. That's the Triumph logo. I think they were taken over by Triumph in the end, although don't quote me on that because I've not researched that. It's just stuff that's going about in my head, isn't it? So I'll whiz on a bit because this is quite a thick book. A lot of it's just, that's interesting, balancing the brakes. And again, you've got plenty of grease nipples there to nipple up the car. It's very nipply out. Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, when he comes across that healthy chested young lady and he goes, she goes, is there anything I can take out for you? Yes, there is. But there you go, schematic standard 12 chassis and the front suspension plan. And then you've got the hubs and what have you there. And there you see it mentions grease gun, oil can, all the things you have to do. It's quite a list of stuff. Quite a list of stuff. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching. I always very much appreciate it. If you got this far, cheers. I hope you have my hand's in it again, sorry. I hope you have a wonderful rest of week. All the very best wishes. Cheers.